So, all right. Well, I'm going to have to give a little background here. So we'll just let you know, for those of you who don't know, this is Michelle Allen of Monkey's House. I'm at Monkey's House, yay! And those are Monkey's House dogs. There are photos like that on every wall in every room of this house. Like, they're everywhere, and they're awesome. So, it's like walking in a museum. You literally could just spend an hour looking at everything, and there's a story to go with each one of them, which is so cool. So, if you don't know, Hugh and I drove from North Carolina up to New Jersey on Sunday, fought the weekend traffic, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Baltimore, so much fun. So that we could come up here and spend the week with Jeff and Michelle, and we are working very hard on doing a lot of filming and recording, both here at Monkey's House and in the studio with one of our coaches over in Pennsylvania to produce a hospice course. And, well, it's hospice and palliative care.
And we've been working on this for, I don't even know how many hundreds of hours, for months. For months and months.
But it's a labor of love. It is a labor of love. And I mean, if you come here and you see what's going on here, and then we're trying to film what's going on here, and you just look around the room and there's like a dog in every corner. They're everywhere. And Michelle was nice enough to allow us to bring Stuart along with us, because Stuart has decided that he wants to be a hospice and palliative care dog. He's fitting right in. One of the volunteers came yesterday for an interview, and she said, "I don't recognize that dog."
Yeah.
So, but Stuart, for those of you who know or don't know, he has been in congestive heart failure. He's a stage D mitral valve dog since November of 2020. He was given 3 months to live, so... Yay! Yay us! Because he's still here. We're going like 20 months now. But then he developed protein-losing enteropathy, so we started dealing with that. And now, to top it off, he went into acute kidney failure, kind of on top of his chronic kidney failure. And then as I'm freaking out that we have to leave him at home, Michelle said, "Why don't you bring him with you?" Now, Michelle never lets other dogs come to Monkey's House because it's pretty disruptive.
It is. For the dogs that live here, there's enough hecticness. We don't want to add to it.
Exactly. So for her dog's sake, and frankly for any dog who's coming in, it's sort of like, adding in another.
There's better places to visit.
Right.
Hey, Holly, thank you.
So, but I have to say, Stuart took on his role of hospice dog. The minute he walked in, he's like, "Okay, I see that bed over there. I like that one. Ooh, they got a pee pad. I like that too. We do sub-Q fluids here, just like at home, and they make these really specialized meals." So, and other than he got a little frisky with one dog yesterday for a few minutes, but other than that, he's kind of been the perfect house guest. I'm bragging on my own dog, but he's been a good house guest.
Yes. And you know, it's funny because he's got such significant heart disease. He's got significant kidney issues. He just came on a long drive to come into a busy house, and he's taking it like a champ. There's still quality. Like, it doesn't matter what's wrong if they're feeling well. And you're careful not to stress him. You're making sure he's staying hydrated, but there's still time to have quality. And I think that is one of, I know for me, but I think for you too, that's one of our biggest whys, is that when your dog doesn't eat for a few days and you go into a veterinarian and they do blood work and they say, "Listen, your dog is in kidney failure." Just the word kidney failure does not sound like, "Would you like to make your follow-up appointment for next year?" Like, it just doesn't sound like there is going to be a next year. And the fact is that the message that we want to get out is that's not the end. The end comes, but it comes at the end. And if you're able to push through this, to learn more, to learn other ways to stay on top of things, to be more proactive, there's more time and there's more fun to be had. There's trips to New Jersey. There's all kinds of things that are happening. And he doesn't look like a dog that's in acute distress. He's just on vacation.
He's wagging his tail.
Yeah.
So we keep saying when the tail stops wagging, we'll know we got an issue. But So yesterday we had a few frustrations during filming. You'll never guess. Technical difficulties. Because that's my middle name. I'm pretty sure Michelle is living up to that as well.
Yes.
So we're sort of technophobes, except we really enjoy the technology when it works because we really need it. So yesterday, Hugh and I came tromping in here with lights and cameras and microphones and stands to hold everything, tripods. My brain is so fried.
Lots of
stuff. So we came in with all this stuff, computers, cameras, and started just sort of taking over Michelle's house and moving dogs around. And everybody's been really good about it. The dogs have been pretty chill.
They really have.
Michelle's like, I'm so worried they'll pee on your lights. I'm like, really? That's your biggest worry?
Buck peed on CNN's camera. Like, they had like this velvet, it looks like a guitar case, and it was like a velvet interior, and Buck peed in there, and he peed right on the lens of one of the big cameras. And like, where do you start? Like, I mean, you start with, oh my goodness, and geez, I'm sorry. But, you know, like, where do you go from there? You know, it's like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oopsie. Yeah. So anyway, we got everything set up. We found a good place to film with good lighting. And then set up, 3 different cameras. That's not my dog coughing. That's amazing. Set up 3 different cameras, and my phone died. Not as in my phone battery wasn't charged, as in my phone said, you have no storage space. You cannot film anything. And we went, wait, we have to have all these cameras running. So we kind of kept filming with it all day. And then last night, Hugh and I went to the AT&T store and wasted an hour and a half. But I got a new phone. And when they transferred everything over, everything we filmed yesterday is gone.
The problem here is that, besides us being technophobes and not skilled, the Wi-Fi is very weak. It's very weak. And it's funny, we've been talking, as much as we've been working together, I would say you probably have gotten maybe half the emails I sent, and just not many of the pictures I've sent, and it's like, and I feel less dumb when you're sitting right next to me.
And it's still not going through.
We can't get pictures to each other. But.
Well, and even the stuff that we got on Hugh's phone, trying to send that, just to move it over into the Google Drive, yeah, it's not happening. So we're going to have to figure out a way to download it immediately onto a computer into the drive. Anyway, technical stuff that we're trying to muddle through as we're here this week, and then hope that our technical people on the other end, Joey, can extract all of this information from our phones. And my computer's doing fine. So we're doing okay.
Good.
So today was the studio day.
Yes. And we did really well. But it was really hard. We're trying to take a very hard topic and trying to get people to talk about it. You know, we talked today saying, you know, hey, let's talk about death and dying. Let's go for lunch and go and talk about what about death and dying. And if we were to do that, we would never meet for lunch. You know, someone says, you know, they're pregnant, and everyone says, oh, are you having birth in a hospital? Are you using a doula? Are you using a midwife? Like, people know, like, traditional, conventional ways, alternative ways. There's so much information that we share. And we share casually in times where we're not stressed, and we can process new information. And it's very helpful. And you know, if someone finds out they're pregnant and they want a birth doula, they can call their friend and say, who did you use? What was it like? Nobody talks about death that way. And I'm not going to say it's exciting, but I'm going to say that we can celebrate it in a different way. We can appreciate it. We can share our experiences, and we can have better experiences because of it. And we can help our pups pass more gently because of it. And I think it's something that's very important that we really consciously make an effort to move forward with, especially now. There's more shortages. We had a dog with breathing issues last night. One of our dogs in quarantine, who's fine, but she was having some bad breathing issues, and we were having troubles finding a hospital to bring her to. We need to have options. We need to know what we can handle ourselves, what we need to be prepared for. And the best way to do that is to talk about it. I know yesterday when you covered respiratory things, very simple things that I have on hand here for respiratory emergencies. I have a fan that can be battery operated or plugged in a wall, and that gives a lot. You can plug that in, put it right in front of your dog, and that gives them a fair amount of comfort. It does not solve the problem, and it may not stop the problem from getting worse, but it can give them some relief. Cooling pads. There's just things, but they're only going to help you if you have them ready, if you know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's really important not to keep this stuff a secret.
Exactly. So that's why we decided, as an end-of-life doula, I appreciate you bringing this topic forward. I did not know there was such a thing. It is very important to discuss all aspects of this time in you and your animal's life. That is amazing. So glad to know that even exists. So in the studio, we have 3 days in the studio and 2 or 3 days here at Monkey's House filming. So in the studio, we're doing interviews. And Michelle's telling stories of some of the dogs here. And today I think we had to cover 8 interviews. Oh, okay. Thank you. I am. So we had to get through 8 interviews, and the people at the studio were prepared that we might get through maybe 4. They were actually a little shocked that we got through it. But I think for Michelle and I, we've talked about these things so many times. So today we discussed natural death versus euthanasia. We discussed how you would start a hospice, why you would start a hospice, how you choose the animals that would be in hospice. We talked about cancer today. What else did we talk about? A lot of how to monetize, like how to fundraise if you want to start something like Monkey's House. It takes a lot to run something like this. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of conversations today that we got onto tape that are going to be part of the course, because we would love to have more people involved with this sort of work. There's such a need for it, and really being able to understand how to care for these dogs and how to make the last chapter the best chapter. And frankly, I mean, I was so grateful for hospice care when my father was passing. I think it's not utilized enough. I think we don't talk about it enough. I really think that this conversation needs to be had. It needs to be had on a bigger stage.
On a bigger stage and more often. So you and I may talk about it for the first time. And I may think about some of the things you said that really resonate with me. And I may want to talk about more or learn more. And I think the more you talk about it, the more comfortable you become talking about it. And like anything else, you network. You learn who has what skills, who's available, and who can help you through things that are challenging. So that, again, we can make this a better ending for our pups and not end up completely destroyed. I will not lie. My grief is bad. Sometimes I feel like there's knives coming out my eyes, not in, out my eyes from inside my head. It's hard, but there's not regrets. I think I moved through the grieving process much faster because there aren't regrets.
Yeah, I think that is pretty critical. When we went through the loss of Myra with the cancer, we only had 8 weeks, from the time she was diagnosed to the time that she passed, and that 8 weeks, we knew we were pretty sure we had a short period of time, but that short period of time was filled with really enjoying life as much as possible to try to have good memories. And when that happens, and you have those good memories, it doesn't mean you're not going to grieve, but maybe it makes it a little less difficult, and maybe you can smile during that memory and not only focus on the loss and the heartbreak, because there's the dogs don't think the same way we do. Like every dog in this house, including mine, well, maybe not your young one, but 99% of the dogs in this house all have a terminal diagnosis, and yet this one's happy licking his foot. Those guys are curled up sleeping. There's one sprawled out. I mean, they're just they're enjoying life. They had 2 meals today. That food time is like, woohoo, we're doing this. And it's joyful. So this isn't 20 dogs sitting around going, oh my gosh, my head hurts, my stomach hurts, oh my gosh, what about the treatment I have to get tomorrow? Oh my gosh, have I made a will? Are my kids gonna fight? It's like they don't have that. They have, what are we having for lunch today?
And if we can work through this time, like I know with Myra, you guys did the bucket list. So every day you took her to lunch somewhere, you took her to a store, you made an effort to do something that she would enjoy, that was a positive memory, so that after your grief, when you look back at your pictures, because you didn't spend the whole time being devastated, you have happy memories to look back on. You have nice pictures, and life is so unpredictable. None of us know what tomorrow is bringing. But if we can just consciously make the effort to make it the best, whatever is working, that's the parts of them that we will utilize. Whatever isn't working, that's the part they need us to support. And your life becomes better because of it. And like I said, I think it really helps us move through the grieving process faster.
Yeah, Philly Schnabel said it was quick with her Nella, so I loved Nella. She was the cutest little Japanese chin, just the most wonderful dog. And she had a transitional cell carcinoma, which normally is in the bladder. We consider a bladder cancer, but hers was in her urethra. So, of course, when they, looked at the abdomen, did x-rays and stuff, the bladder looked fine. And unfortunately, the diagnosis was missed. It was one of those kind of disasters where the diagnosis was missed, and then they insisted on going in and spaying her, and then she had complications from that. And then she was still bleeding, which, of course, perplexed everyone because they had taken care of that problem by spaying her. So when she finally got the diagnosis of where the cancer was, it was not a treatable cancer. But little Nella got to come see me about once a week because we were monitoring, after she would have bleeds, we were monitoring her blood. And we really did some out of the box things, thinking of what can we do for this dog. So I was infusing, we were talking about using Yunnan Bial topically today. I was infusing that up this dog's urethra. And we were doing a lot of different things to try to keep things under control for her. And it gave her extra time, and it was happy time. She enjoyed the one-on-one time coming down on the trips. This was a long trip from North Jersey. Coming down, Mom says she even stole a French fry. So, it's just, yes, you can still be fighting for them, but you're also enjoying that time while you're fighting for them.
And I think it's something we all deserve, but it's not our natural instinct. As a society, we don't talk that much about it. We barely get the words out. That someone died, and we don't get the words out that we're scared or that we're overwhelmed. Things have to be pretty bad before people reach out, and it doesn't have to be as bad as it is. It really doesn't.
No, I don't. I was just going to say, I don't think we ever welcome death, but I take that back because there are times, and I just saw one of my clients from New Jersey, she lost a family member, and she made a post that they were celebrating the fact that the suffering was no longer. And so I think, while we tend to be fearful, we also can be joyful, and that gets lost in the process sometimes.
Yeah. And the thing with dogs is they don't have regrets. They don't talk about regrets. Dogs either ate breakfast or didn't, and if they did, it was a great breakfast. They might say, well, I was hoping the sun would come out, but it's not. I'm gonna try and make the best of it. No, they're either gonna not go outside and run into the dining room to use the bathroom because that's just their own rule, or they're going to go out anyway, and they're going to have fun. We think we could all take a lesson from them.
Yep. So Ruth is talking about her cat Sachi, who was in chronic renal failure, and so she got a whole year, I believe, giving him sub-Q fluids, changing his diet, using some herbal therapy, and really just supporting him through that. And she said she used to spend a lot of time on the couch with him laying on her lap or on her chest, and it was his favorite place because it was warm and snuggly, and old cats with kidney failure tend to be kind of cold. He was snuggled up warm on my lap his last morning. I didn't expect him to turn so quickly. Maybe I could have stayed home with him, but it is what it is. Even the fluids time, he got plenty of yummy snacks and extra attention. But here's the thing, Ruth. He managed to walk that line for a whole year. And cats are great because they'll do that, and then when they fall off that fence, they fall very quickly. And that's fine. That's fine because they're enjoying things. Like I had a cat that had FIV. It was the very first kitty I ever had. And he got out of the house once in his entire life, went to the farm next door, and came back with a bite wound. I didn't think anything of it, fixed up his bite wound. 15 years later, I wanted to use him for a blood transfusion. So I have to do a leukemia test before you do a transfusion. He was FIV positive. I had no idea. No idea. I had to have gotten it from that one bite wound 15 years ago. So he had been carrying that around for 15 years, and I didn't know. Sometimes not knowing things makes life really easy. So I wasn't all freaked out. But then he developed lymphosarcoma in his throat, which FIV cats tend to do. And then we put in a feeding tube. He did great for a whole year. Feeding tube came out after a month. He did great for a year. When he developed lymphoma in the kidneys, I supported him with fluids, did all those things that you would do for a kidney case. And when he went downhill, literally it was a 24-hour deal. It was just, I'm done. I can't. Like, he was so dehydrated, and they're really good if we listen to them. They're really good at saying, I'm gonna hang around here. I'm enjoying this. Yeah, I'm done. They're pretty good at it.
They're much better than we are.
Yeah.
They're much better than we are. And isn't that what we all want, to live into our last moments?
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. That little sign that says, go through life like a roller coaster, shouting yeehaw, and then slide into home plate.
Yeah.
Are we sliding in?
No, we're still hanging on.
We are still hanging on.
We have hopes that there's another yeehaw left in us.
We're hoping for another yeehaw. We have too much work to do.
Yeah,
we have too much work to do. We can't leave. We got work to do.
We do.
So Debbie says her 16-year-old Australian Shepherd got another year using acupuncture and chiropractic. Yeah, that dog did. Carol Richter, we just lost our 17-year-old pup yesterday. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's see. Very, very sad. Ill for 5 weeks. Yeah. 17 is, you hear me say this a lot, that people go, he had 12 good years. And I'm like, oh no, I want 17, 18. I'll take 17. That's awesome. Clearly, you were doing something right.
Yeah. Daryl Abano says hi to you. And Michelle is a hospice nurse. That's what we're doing. Thank you for what you're doing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for what you do. Yeah. It's so, so, so important. The hospice team that we had was really amazing.
With your dad?
Oh, yeah, they were so good. So good. And I think it's important. And, it's funny, we talk about it for people, but we don't talk about it very much. It is a newer thing that we're seeing more of, hospice and palliative care, particularly when I've been down at I took a hospice and palliative care course at the Chi Institute, which is where I learned my acupuncture and food therapy and everything in Florida. And there are a lot of veterinarians that this is all they're doing now. And most of them are house call practices because they understand that for an animal with, with the need for hospice or palliative care, it can be harder to transport them, more stressful for them, and it's much better to keep anxiety at a minimum and do things at home as much as possible.
Yeah. You know what? It allows the veterinarian, when it's possible, hey Joyce, how are you? Thank you. It allows the veterinarian, when it's possible, to see what the home environment is like for the pet, to see how they're being handled and how they're handling their life there. And sometimes they answer questions about challenges. It may look very easy in a veterinary office where everyone is trained to do what they do and they have systems of lifting animals and expressing bladders. And sometimes there's challenges in the home environment that people can't imagine until they're in the home environment and it's 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I try to share what we do here. I try to share how we handle things, but I'm really hoping that this course helps people just talk a whole lot more about all that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
About what they want.
Yep. And understand things that you can do yourself. So even if you are interested in hospice or palliative care for the one dog that you have or the one cat that you have, knowing what questions to ask, what supplies and equipment you should have around the house for a particular problem that they might be having, so one of the things that we're looking at is how do you modify your house when you have a blind animal, a deaf animal, a mobility challenged animal, whatever their situation. And half of these dogs have all three of those, and then a few other comorbidities on top of that. So, we're really trying to cover. It's difficult to do in less than 4,000 hours. Really try to cover the bases on things that you can do to help your own animals, or if you wanted to, foster hospice care animals. The fostering hospice care animals can be so difficult, and that's frankly why Michelle does what she does, because if you're fostering for a humane society or a shelter, they have rules. And they have rules about what's allowed to be done or not allowed to be done. They have rules about which veterinary care you can seek out, rules about how much money can be spent. And that can be really frustrating. And I know when I did foster care for some of the rescues, being a veterinarian, it was easier for me, but it was also frustrating because I would be like, wow, I sent out blood work. And they're like, you did what? I'm like, I'm paying for it. They're like, you still can't do that without permission. I'm like, why not? So there's rules.
There are rules. And I understand. I understand shelter medicine. I understand budgets. I understand everything. The way we do hospice here is not the way everyone does hospice. And our goal is not just for them to come here and die, but we do everything we can to help them live well for as long as their mind and their body is capable of it and they want to be here. And then when there's changes, then we'll let them go. But in the meantime, people don't always understand why we do dentals, why we'll spay an older dog. All of the benefits all the things that they benefit from when we do these things, that are actually, when the right precautions are taken, it's a good thing.
Yep. So somebody had their dog would slide, especially on the kitchen, so they had carpets and ramps, and yeah, absolutely. The things that we do to make it easier for these dogs. Michelle has a big shepherd that's out in the cottage. Legend. And the modifications that they've made this is a big dog with a big cart, and the modifications that they've made for this dog. And so yesterday when we were filming here, I said, oh, can we get a video of Legend going up the front door ramp? And Michelle's like, he's never gone up the front door ramp. I don't know. He or she. Legend is brilliant. Let me tell you, shepherds are smart dogs. So, Holly, who was here helping, walked up the ramp, and Legend was like, oh, we're going that way? Okay, boom. When she had to turn the corner, one of the wheels of the cart kind of hooked on the corner, and that dog just backed up, repositioned, zipped around the corner, and I stood there in amazement thinking, that dog is brilliant. If you've ever seen somebody trying to walk on crutches for the first time or manage a wheelchair for the first time, we're like complete idiots. We can't figure these things out. We fall down, we fall over, we get stuck. This dog was just like, I got it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And, if I was her, I would say, oh, listen, it's the end of my walk. I'm really tired. My back's starting to hurt. I'll try it another day. She's like, oh, something new, something fun. Let's do it. We're going. We're going. And it was all good till she got into the house and met few of our little stinker dogs that think differently about big dogs.
Well, then we turned her around and we got to video
her
her
down.
going down the ramp.
Yep.
So it worked out fine.
It did. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Truly appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you, because this was a surprise visit for me, but I didn't know if we were going to get on Facebook at all this week and Instagram because we're away. I don't know what Gwen's doing back at home. We'll have to give you an update on Bubba Duke, the dog from the weekend. I'll save that for another day.
Yeah, but it's, we had a long day in the studio. It was hard. It was difficult. I feel like we nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about this course than ever before. When you first approached me about it, it's a mammoth task. It's gigantic, and I know every time we talked about something, you'd say, "Crap, that's another unit." Or, oh
Yeah,
my!
Michelle would ask you a question, I'm like, gotta add that on too. And it kept growing and growing and growing. It's taken on a life of its own, but I think it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, epic is my word.
Epic, okay.
Epic. That's what
We'll go for epically
our
amazing,
goals are
amazingly
realistic.
epic.
We really want it to. We really want people to talk about this. We really want people and animals to have a gentler passing and to move forward in life a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely.